Part 102. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1014. I think the Aditya is almost arriving in the central star sector. If it hasn't arrived yet, I will personally pick it up. If you want to make an artificial black hole, the help of the Aditya is indispensable, so after thinking about it for a long time, Jia Yan wanted to contact the Aditya, whom he had not seen for a long time. Huh? It's almost here. As soon as he used Hineo to connect through a special program, Jia Yan felt happy. The position of the Aditya displayed on the brain was actually not far from the central star area. That's all, I'll work harder, go pick it up, and take a look at where there are natural black holes along the way. If possible, I'll make a perfect artificial black hole along the way. Jia Yan was a little eager when he thought that after he had a man-made black hole, he could threaten many forces in this genius battlefield. This feeling is like that of ordinary people on Earth holding nuclear bombs, which can be said to be a great weapon for self-protection. After thinking a lot, Jia Yan stood up. Jia Yan, who had just returned to Tingtian Pavilion not long ago, gave instructions again, saying that he would leave for a while, and this time he even wiped out all the supplies that the entire Tingtian Pavilion had recently obtained. You must know that there are a huge number of forces and individuals who want to be protected by Tingtian Pavilion recently. The filial piety materials they send will make the sub-level officials in Tingtian Pavilion's temporary management of supplies laugh out of their dreams. But Jia Yan collected all these supplies in one breath. Although there would be harvests in the future, it still made the person in charge of the supplies extremely miserable. Jia Yan didn't care about this. As he said before, Tingtian Pavilion was just used as a place to grab supplies. After getting the supplies, regardless of the earnest looks from those forces, Jia Yan casually arranged what Tingtian Pavilion would do after he left, and then took off. Did you hear that? Mr. MOK seems to have no intention of managing our Tingtian Pavilion. Several sub-levels who watched Jia Yan's armor leave gathered together, and then discussed somewhat depressedly. If your excellency is not willing to take care of Tingtian Pavilion, we will run Tingtian Pavilion well. When he discovers our role, he will definitely come back and value Tingtian Pavilion, he said with some ruthlessness in his eyes. Seikon's next level all nodded. They were the personnel who Jia Yan brought to Tingtian Pavilion by force, but now they have feelings for Tingtian Pavilion, especially the prestige that Jia Yan brought to this force. They had never thought before that they could get some mid-level talents. Respectful treatment from stellar seniors. Now Jia Yan doesn't want to listen to the Tianj forces, but they can't, so even if Jia Yan leaves, they have to run this place well. Jia Yan didn't know that his attitude actually made everyone in Tingtian Pavilion have the mentality of working hard. At this moment, he just flew out of Tingtian Pavilion's small star, looked at the battleships all around, and then jumped into the subspace. There is nothing major in this trip, and he has to meet the Aditya a few light years away. Even in his true form, Jia Yan will take a long time to arrive. So when he was flying in the subspace again, he focused his energy on the clone. Just when Jia Yan was about to focus on his clone, his expression suddenly froze. It turned out that the clone actually felt that his connection system seemed to be changing and adjusting. Is the connection system operating? It's surprising that Taya country has received the information so quickly. Jia Yan's clone was surprised, and he moved his hands and feet. Fortunately, the adjustments there did not affect the clone's actions to a great extent. Go back to the real body and feel it. Jia Yan controlled his mental power to return to his true body in subspace. Since the connection system doesn't have as big an impact on the real body as the clone, the real body doesn't feel much about it until now. Try to distribute some energy to the clone through the connection system. Jia Yan thought for a while, and then his real body's strength grew slightly. On the clone that was tens of thousands of light years away, a force suddenly erupted. At the same time, Jia Yan felt that the connection system was suddenly unstable. Sure enough, I can convert some energy through the connection system, but the system is still unstable. I can't rush. Jia Yan was extremely pleasantly surprised. Although the connection system that had just been converted after this order was slightly damaged, he did not think it was a big deal. I have to wait until the connection system is more mature before increasing the amount of conversion. Moreover, the power converted at this moment will definitely exceed the precarious energy of the clone. It is enough. Jia Yan's compound eyes brightened even more. After this, he controlled the clone, looked at the surrounding stars, and then his eyes lit up. It turns out that even if there is an energy crisis in the space capsule, it is still at the edge of the Orion arm, and flying in subspace, Jia Yan does not feel too many obstacles. Controlling the space capsule, Jia Yan made it appear in the visible universe. With his own strength, he basically has nothing to fear now. Within the starry sky, Jia Yan saw battleships gathering around him. And throughout the starry sky, there are many patrol warships flying around, seemingly checking for any signs of enemies around them. There are also some modified interstellar meteorites with cannons on them, and many have been transformed into bases with countless creatures inside. This place is no longer a simple line of defense. It has even become a gathering point for countless alien life forms. There are also many merchant ships coming and going. What a terrifying number. Even though I have been in the genius battlefield for so long and am used to seeing alien life forms, I have never seen such a large number of alien life forms. Jia Yan made the space capsule invisible, and then hid behind an unmanned interstellar meteorite. He then flew to a base not far away where ships came and went. The Kawo defense line is the defense line organized by the Orion Arm Empire to defend the western section from the invasion of external creatures. In this line of defense, not only powerful empires exist, but almost every interstellar civilization that can be named in the entire Orion Arm has ships stationed there. The former Earthlings, in their own name, boarded a speeding ship from the Asta Empire and came to this place of defense. Even the super-speed ships of the Asta Empire could not reach such a distance within a few years. It was the gravitational wave stabilization system pioneered by the Great Empire that allowed them to reach this place quickly. I don't know what's going on with the Earth now. Only when I got here did I understand how far we, the people on Earth, are from the interstellar civilizations outside. A young Earth boy, on a small transformed planet, lamented everything he saw with several soldiers who also came from Earth. Yeah, who says it's not? If you haven't seen the world before, you really don't dare to speak ill of alien civilizations. Just a warship sailing to the Earth here can wipe out all of us humans on Earth. Another boy from Earth also shook his head and sighed with a wry smile. Don't be so arrogant. Don't we still have Mr. Jia Yan on Earth? You know, before we came out, the Great Empire was afraid of Mr. Jia Yan, so it didn't dare to attack our Earth like it did with other civilizations. There was a tall boy who was a little unhappy that his friends were exaggerating other civilizations so much. But he said this, but in fact, he was also extremely shocked by what he saw on this defensive line. Faintly in his heart, he became a little less confident about the Master Jia Yan on Earth who he originally thought was like a god. Haha, you are too confident. We have been here for a few months. How many powerful people have we seen? We have seen several of that kind of venerable level. It is said that our Lord Jia Yan, that is, one venerable is the most. They are good to us Earthlings. They are indeed worried about Master Jia Yan, but they are definitely not afraid. They just want him to help defend the defense line. When several young people talked about this, they felt that the backers behind the people on Earth were not so invincible, and they all became a little silent at this moment. You tell me, what kind of enemy does the Great Empire have to fight with so many civilized fleets? I have heard that the Great Empire has assembled no less than 10,000 base stars like ours alone. You know, on each similar base star, there are an average of 10,000 to 20,000 extraterrestrial beings. With such a number, a combat-ready army of more than 100 million people can wipe out the entire civilization of our Earth. I really don't know what we are going to face. What kind of enemy would it be? Ha, you must be ignorant. I have heard that the great empire said that the current personnel are not enough, and they are even continuing to assemble armies in major civilizations. In the future, the number of military creatures may even increase several times. Hearing this, several young soldiers from Earth swallowed their saliva. Among the people on Earth, they are considered to be extremely talented beings. Now each one has reached the early stage of heaven level. They originally shouldered a sacred mission. The 15 people put on the uniforms of the Earth Alliance army and came to this battle line in high spirits, but they sadly found out, their initial heaven level strength is almost the weakest in the entire army. Find the book Garden M. And such an army, where everyone has a strength above the heaven level, is not enough, and they have to continue to struggle with manpower? What kind of enemy are they going to face? Thinking of this group of young people from Earth all feel uncertain about their future. Just when this group of Earth orphans were a little worried and frightened on this base, and thought that they had no one to rely on anymore, and even felt that the god of the Earth, Mr. Jiayan, did not seem to be so reliable, one person in the universe, slowly the slow-flying sound shadow was detected by a detection system outside the base. Toot toot toot. Suddenly, the alarm sounded loudly throughout the base. Quick, quick, quick. You guys from the Earth civilization, hurry up and gather together. If you are still the slowest this time, be careful of my military law. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1015. Upon hearing the siren that resounded throughout the base, the expressions of several young Earthlings in the dormitory changed drastically. Fastest update. Then they didn't dare to have any worries, and each one jumped up from the bunk or chair, and then burst out with heaven-level energy, running towards the outside world almost suspended. Not only them, but all the creatures in the entire base changed their expressions at the alarm, and then rushed towards the gathering place. This time is not a drill. Do you guys from Earth understand this? If you dare to arrive last or even delay the fighter plane, I will kill a few of you and string them together outside the base gate. Hurry up. What bullshit, the geniuses on Earth are simply the weakest natives. The 8-claw instructor who was responsible for teaching the 5 soldiers assigned to this base on Earth was yelling curses. As an instructor who is solely responsible for the 5 people on Earth, he has a good temper. However, in the past few months of teaching, these guys from some Earth civilization ranked him last in the base every time. This made him uneasy. He was extremely angry. Every time he went out, he was ridiculed by other instructors, and even had his superiors doubt his teaching ability. He became even more angry for no reason at the few guys he taught who came from some Earth civilization. Obviously this is a civilization that has just grown up from the indigenous people, but it actually dares to send troops to attack us without any defense lines. It's just a way to die, and it drags me to death. I'm so angry. This 8-claw instructor's strength is in the middle of the heaven level. He belongs to a well-known figure in a certain interstellar civilization in the East. He once made great contributions to his civilization. But for such a well-known figure, he was so talented that he could only serve as an instructor in one base. When the first young Earth soldier rushed to the octopus instructor, his expression improved slightly. Then the next Earth soldier came to him, and even the 3 behind him were not too slow. After arranging their formation in an instant, the expression of the 8-claw instructor became much better. Because most of the teams in the entire base army have not yet been assembled. Very good, you didn't let me teach you for several months in vain. Instructor Ba Zhao smiled and said to several subordinates, stand still for me now. I just received a report from above that there is an unknown strong person. If we get close, if it's an enemy, Then it's time for us to get ready for battle. Enemy. The sound of this noun made the young people on Earth, who had suddenly learned the language of the great empire within a few months, gasp. For several months, they had not been clear about the enemy they were about to face, but they also understood that this enemy was absolutely terrifying. They even vaguely heard news from other biological soldiers who were not too familiar with them that some bases were completely destroyed by the so-called enemies. Now this enemy has actually become their basic enemy. Don't be nervous, our team can only be regarded as new recruits. If the enemy destroys even the regular soldiers, we will just wait to die and there is no need for you to actually participate in the war. Instructor Ba Zhao left. Several Earth soldiers saw that in this temporary assembly, they were all new recruits like them. None of the regular soldiers they had seen before were missing. Of course, the regular soldiers could assemble much faster than them. If they had been assembled, they would have been dispatched long ago. They, a group of Earth soldiers, were peeking around, but they saw a double-sided screen with a diameter of several hundred meters lowered from under the large transparent life support cover above the assembly. Okay, the above is the live broadcast of the real-time situation. If the other party is an enemy, this is the person we will fight against later. If the other party is not an enemy, then he will be a distinguished guest of our base. After all, he can physically step on what is in the universe, and the starry sky is definitely not an ordinary heaven-level being, maybe it is a super heaven-level being, or even a venerable level being. The eight-clawed monster seemed to explain to several Earthlings because the Earthlings did not embarrass him again this time. Of course, the current situation is still uncertain, and there are many sky levels in the surrounding stars. There is a high possibility that the opponent is a sky level without an identification friend or foe instrument. That's why the eight-clawed monster wasn't as worried as the new recruits. It is not that easy to meet the enemy. Although I have been hearing recently that a certain base has been destroyed, and even dozens of bases in the entire defense line have been destroyed by a strong enemy, after all, compared to with a base number of 10,000, the possibility of encountering enemies is still relatively high. Just as the young soldiers of Earth and the eight-clawed monster looked at the high screen, a base battleship flew up from the screen. That is the warships of the regular army. You must know that they are fast enough and well trained. They are ready for battle as early as when the new recruits are still gathering. Great Empire time 354,353, 434, 126,674. The 92 battleship detachment of the 3,981st base went to contact an unknown powerful creature. A faint communication report came from the screen. This is the calmness of a veteran. Several Earth soldiers looked at the cooperation process of several soldiers from different interstellar civilizations on the screen, and they couldn't help but feel very embarrassed. You must know that although they are geniuses on Earth, in this interstellar barracks, they are almost the least talented beings. Even cooperation is much slower than others. The eight-clawed monster obviously thought so too. Did you see, you elm-headed people, these are the real soldiers. I know you are from that backward Earth, but forget it because you have poor talent, you can't even cooperate well, so I have to. You Earthlings, isn't it because of synergistic genes? Or, you have just become civilized, so if you don't have strong people, even this kind of domestic animal can do good things, but you can't do it well. The words of the eight-clawed monster stung the hearts of several young soldiers on Earth. Originally, such words were not allowed in a large base with many civilizations, but now this octopus instructor seemed to hate the Earth soldiers, so he made words that insulted the Earth civilization. Your Excellency, instructor. I know you look down on us, but you can't look down on our civilization. Suddenly, the tall boy from the Earth civilization suddenly turned his head, looked at the eight-clawed monster, and shouted angrily. Our civilization has just arrived in the starry sky, and the overall talent of our civilization is not yet good enough, but you can't insult the strong men of my civilization. His loud shouting was heard by several surrounding teams. Several of the instructors looked over and smiled in relief. What kind of Earth civilization team is there again? This kind of primitive civilization exists, and they have no talent and no discipline. It seems that it is not possible to work with them. I will apply tomorrow to have this Earth civilization team withdraw from our base, otherwise if we encounter enemies, we will definitely be killed by them. Who is not? Look at it. Now you dare to talk to the instructor in such a gathering. You are simply disrespectful. The crowd of soldiers surrounding him made the eight-clawed monster instructor almost want to find a hole in the ground to crawl into. Asshole, what strong people do you have on Earth? So what if I insult them? If I return to my own civilization and bring a fleet, I can destroy all your civilizations. Let's see what strong people you have. This eight-clawed monster has been ignored in this base, and now it has exploded. You. Of course there are strong people in our civilization. The strong person in our Earth civilization is called Mr. Jiayan. He is at least a venerable or above. If you dare to insult him again, I am worried that our Earth civilization will not let you go. The tall boy couldn't hold it back, even if a genius on the other side of the Earth tried to pull him back. Ha ha ha, you are above the rank. There is no one in my civilization who is above the rank. The eight-clawed monster seemed to have heard some big joke, and then pointed at the tall boy who had been wearing it for several days of training and smelled like a stinker. Shoes. Stop teasing me. If there is a powerful person above the venerable in your bullshit Earth civilization, I will swallow your stinky shoes. But what if there isn't? The eight-clawed monster asked lightly. If Mr. Jiayan is not a powerful person above the venerable, I will drink all your bath water. The tall boy roared. You guys, please tell me that our military discipline will not be merciful. Just as several young Earth soldiers were scolding the eight-clawed monster instructor, a shout suddenly came from above the rostrum. Hearing the anger of the recruit leader of the TNG Peak base above, including the eight-claw instructor, the entire team shrank their shoulders and did not dare to speak. At this time, the fleet on the screen has arrived in the universe. The perspective also switches to the outside world. Attention, strong men in front, this is the 3981st base of Kawo Defense Line. Please show your civilization affiliation and name, otherwise we will regard you as an enemy. Thousands of creatures in several large groups of recruits heard the sound broadcast from above. In front of the fleet, not far from the screen, a monster's figure faintly appeared on the screen. A good creature. It doesn't seem to be a large type. It's blurry, I can't see clearly what it looks like. But, it seems. Are they similar to the recruits who made the noise just now? Hey, you look so similar. The recruits looked at the screen above them in groups, then looked sharply at the screen above, and then looked in the direction of the recruits on Earth. Don't be stupid. The major races in the Empire are like this. How can such a starstruck strongman have anything to do with that Earth? Just as the recruits were discussing quietly, a man's voice from the sky above the universe also reached the battleship. At the same time, it was transmitted to the recruits through the battleship live broadcast system. Hello friends from base 3981, I come from Earth civilization, and my name is Jiayan. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1016. Earth, which civilization is this? It's impossible. How come we don't know which civilization has a venerable level existence? We don't even know about it? In that battleship, a sailor brought up the information panel. He has never heard the name of the civilization of Earth at all, and it is almost impossible for this official in charge of intelligence. After all, there are only so many civilizations with venerable level existences in the entire Orion Arm, including the Asta Empire, and such they have records of the Lan Empire. But when he opened the search function and quickly found information about Earth civilization, he was stunned. Quick, quick, big shot, this is the most distinguished guest in the history of our base. He is actually a being who has received the title of the highest being proclaimed by the great empire. The intelligence officer's ship's crew was almost in bad shape. You must know that the great empire was a hegemonic existence within the Orion Arm, and the titles they promulgated for the strong were also particular. Generally speaking, the venerable person in this Orion Arm can already obtain the title of top powerhouse. In this star field, there are only two top figures, who are called the top beings in the great empire, that is, the Sphinx who had dealt with Jia Yan before, and the Great Sphinx. Another half-stellar being in the empire. Through previous interactions with the Sphinx, Jia Yan's name was announced almost the moment the Sphinx returned to the battleship. The other party claimed that Jia Yan was they are almost equal to the two half-star powerhouses. For the strong, face is not that important to begin with. And with the strength that Jia Yan has shown on Earth, even though he has never fought before, the Sphinx doesn't think he will lose to Jia Yan. But Jia Yan can definitely pose a threat to him. He is at their level, so giving Jia Yan a title similar to his is not a big deal. The most top existence. In the battleship, I heard a lot of gasps. You must know that the top existence, that is, the half-star in the Orion Arm, can easily destroy a small civilization. You can do it by yourself without the help of others. Even the current star base can be easily bombarded by the other party if it wants to, and no one inside can even think of escaping. I looked at the information, it's true. This is an official statement from the Great Empire, and it's absolutely not wrong. Quick, all the troops in our planet come out and prepare to greet us on each planet. The big shots that the group of young Earth soldiers could only look up to were all extremely nervous at this time, and they were no longer as nervous as before. That kind of arrogant and big shot look. On that star, a group of recruits heard the visiting creature on the screen actually tell the fleet that he was from Earth and that his name was Jia Yan. The entire queue became silent almost instantly. Then the people around Zhou Wu looked blankly at the side of the Earth square. Several young people also looked at the top of the screen blankly with expressions no different from theirs. Obviously, these young people also looked blankly at the top of the screen. I don't know that the person in my own power will come here. I heard wrong. The being above is actually Mr. Jia Yan from Earth. You heard that right, but I think I heard wrongly what the intelligence officer in the fleet said. He actually said that Jia Yan is the top existence confirmed by the Great Empire. You must know that this is the second person of the Great Empire. The exclusive title of a supremely powerful person. The surrounding beings looked extremely shocked at the arrival of Jia Yan, but they did not expect that the 5 young people in the Earth soldier formation were also shocked at this moment. This is indeed Mr. Jia Yan. But why did you come here? And Your Excellency has become the top existence promulgated and confirmed by the Great Empire. You know, we have studied the textbooks in the past few months. In the entire Orion Arm, there are only 2 supreme powerful men from the Great Empire who are like incarnations of gods. Their names can be recognized as the top existences, but now our Lord Jia Yan on Earth actually has the same title. We said before that we people on Earth believe in Mr. Jia Yan, like a frog in the well, but now Mr. Jia Yan actually comes directly to slap you in the face. Yes, but I like this slap in the face so much. Our Lord Jia Yan is actually one of the strongest men in the entire Orion Arm. Ha ha ha. Several young soldiers from Earth looked ecstatic. They didn't care about military discipline at all, but were having fun here. But the 8-clawed monster next to them was dumbfounded. Then he looked at the tall boy's smelly shoes, and then swallowed. He was wondering if he could give him a good taste of the shoes before eating them. Of washing? Haha, instructor, did you see that this is Lord Jia Yan of our Earth? Naturally, the tall young man had not forgotten the instructor who had insulted the earth. Now that he thought about it, he immediately shouted at him. This time, he felt confident enough that he no longer even feared the other party. You must know that with Master Jiayan, and even after getting the news that he is a top-level existence, their status will definitely rise. Even if they don't return to Earth, they will definitely no longer be ordinary soldiers. Humph, how can the Orion arm produce another top-level strongman so easily? I think there must be something wrong. The instructor's face froze, and then he said with a sour tone. As soon as he said these words, the atmosphere around him changed. The instructors and other soldiers looked at him as if they were idiots. The eight-claw instructor spoke for a moment, and then he suddenly realized. His words not only offended the people on Earth, but also offended the great empire. You must know that he was a soldier who lived under the system of the emperor's army. Now it is said that the great empire made a mistake in this kind of matter. Wouldn't it be wrong? Question the authority of the great empire? Sure enough, the recruit leader on the high platform looked at him with something wrong. You said that our Lord Jiayan was mistaken? Very good. Your Excellency will definitely meet us later. Then we will ask you in person whether it was he who was mistaken or you who made a mistake. The face of the tall young man from Earth, who had already broken up with the instructor, became extremely unhappy. In the eyes of the people on Earth, Jiayan is a god. He was already a little shaken by this. It can be seen that Jiayan is also a top-notch existence in this huge Orion arm, and his thoughts are even more determined. That's right, I also want to see if it's you who made a mistake, or whether our empire made a mistake. The leader of the recruit monster on the high platform also said lightly at this time. Originally, he would not intervene in such a conflict between small soldiers. It can be seen that those new recruits from Earth, whom he has never been too fond of, actually have such backers behind them. Of course, he has to take a stand now. After all, he wasn't very kind to this small group of Earth soldiers in the previous training. If they complained in front of the coming adult, he felt that he would be in trouble. Outside outer space, Jiayan looked at the small group of battleships in front of him, and then let out a long sigh. In the eyes of several Earthling recruits, these extremely well-trained coalition fleets were not enough for Jiayan. Compared with the fleets from the outside world, this kind of quality is simply childish. Alas, can we still fight against the invaders coming from the outside world? I don't think so. Jiayan let out a long sigh. He was also celebrating. Fortunately, people on Earth don't have to come here to join the army. Otherwise, the first wave of fleets and bases that come into contact here will cause countless casualties. But when he was walking with the welcoming fleet, a word came from the flagship that made him a little shocked. Master Jiayan, it just so happens that several soldiers from your Earth race are serving in our base. You are not here just to see them, right? In the battleship, the voice of a monster about the peak of the heaven level reached Jiayan's ears. Huh? Are there actually Earthlings in this defense line? Why didn't I know? Jiayan was surprised. Then he was relieved. After all, he had not asked about the affairs on Earth one by one. If it were not for a large-scale military dispatch, the high-level officials on Earth would not have brought this issue to him. If there were not many people, they would probably. I'm afraid that such a trivial matter will disturb Jiayan. It turns out there are children from our Earth here. I really didn't know. Let them come and see me later. Jiayan nodded lightly. Yes, the heaven-level peak being didn't care about Jiayan's commanding tone at all, and felt happy that Jiayan had spoken to him. You must know that a top-level existence is almost like a god in the arms of Orion. Now he has seen one with his own eyes. Although it is not the two people everyone is familiar with, can the title given by the great empire be false? Being able to talk to such a being once in a lifetime is a blessing that can last a lifetime. Not long after, on the space star, Groups of soldiers lined up urgently and waited on the apron of the largest fleet on the planet. There are new soldiers and veterans here, the total number is not less than 10 or 20,000. At the front of this group of soldiers, the 5 new recruits from Earth all puffed up their chests, and their faces could not hide their excitement and joy no matter how hard they tried to hide it. "Here we go, beat the snare drum for me." Just when the shadow of a battleship appeared in the sky, welcoming military music began to play beneath the entire Earth. In the approaching battleship, a creature that was small but almost like a mountain appeared in front of the soldiers. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1017. It's such a small star, but it actually houses more than 10,000 military creatures. Jia Yan saw the star under his feet, and then compared it with the Tingtian pavilion on the other side of his real body. It seemed to be a little smaller, which shows how big the area of the star was. The entire planet has been transformed, and there are many forts and landing pads on it. However, in Jia Yan's view, they are all useless things. If a powerful master of the venerable level passes by, he can sweep them all away. He released the power of his brain waves and soon discovered that among the monster army, there were several boys who looked like young people from Earth, waiting in the front of the dock with some excitement. As expected, I am from Earth. That great empire has gone too far. Before I showed up, it wanted Earthlings to come over and join the army. Jia Yan's clone frowned, seeming to be a little unhappy with the great empire's actions. Because he knows that this is the method used by the great empire. Although this group of Earthling recruits is small in number, it is definitely a pilot. As long as they find that there is a possibility for Earthlings to develop into reliable soldiers, they will definitely make a big move. Earth is being asked to send troops. Of course, even if we send troops, they will only be at the cannon fodder level. Jia Yan's face was not very good as he flew all the way down. Such a big scene is nothing to him now. The surrounding warships surrounded Jia Yan, and then both docked on the landing pad. Lord Jia Yan, Base 3981 welcomes you. We are Earthling recruits affiliated with this base. When Jia Yan walked slowly, accompanied by the people who came off the battleship, in front of several Earthling-looking recruits, the soldiers introduced themselves to Jia Yan in unison. Their expressions were extremely excited, as if they felt lucky to have met Jia Yan, a godlike figure they had only seen in newspapers or on the media. Of course, if we talk about the feelings of the people on Earth towards Jia Yan, we can't finish them in 3 days and 3 nights. At least these young people are the same, especially since they knew before that Lord Jia Yan is not just a small person on Earth. Since the top warriors of civilization were extremely terrifying beings in the entire Orion arm, their worship and belief in Jia Yan had reached its peak. You are very good. Please stay with me now. The great empire is so ridiculous that it actually sent me, an Earthling, to the front line. Jia Yan can see that these 11-year-old children are all geniuses among geniuses on Earth. Each of them has reached the heaven level. Although they are only in the early stage of heaven level, they have just begun to practice their brain training. Among the people on Earth who have the power of waves, they are already geniuses among geniuses. He didn't want these talented flames to be transferred to this border area, so he didn't say hello at this time, just asked them to follow him, and when the situation was right, he would bring all the people who came to the defense line with him. Return to Earth. Every monster who heard Jia Yan's words was shocked. You must know that Jia Yan spoke ill of the great empire directly in front of so many people. Nonsense. That's because the great empire has that ability. Everyone knows that the great empire has done a lot of tyrannical things. In order to establish this line of defense, it even destroyed several small civilizations. But who knows, who dares to say to the face that the great empire is nonsense? This Jia Yan from the Earth civilization dares. Jia, Your Excellency Jia Yan, isn't it a little bit to organize our great empire in front of such soldiers? The senior fleet officer accompanying Jia Yan almost froze when he heard these words. He is a creature of a great empire. When he heard Jia Yan talking about his great empire, he was going to get angry according to his original intention, but when he thought that the other person was the top existence recognized by his empire, God knows how the other party got it in private. With this title, as an officer of the empire, he knew very well that the empire could not easily give such a title to a strong alien. Maybe there was a fierce battle behind it? So now that he heard that Jia Yan actually spoke directly about his great empire in front of so many soldiers, he dared not speak out in anger. I just said, what's wrong with your great empire? Not only here, but even in front of the Lion King of your empire, I said this. He couldn't refute me. How could you? Jia Yan snorted lightly, then looked at the other person. The Lion King is the name of the Sphinx in the great country. Of course, Jia Yan had no good words with the opponent on Earth before, and the opponent did not have anything to do with Jia Yan. Jia Yan's glance was like a sharp arrow, making the other party stunned, and then seemed to be severely injured. Jia Yan's control of momentum has reached a new level, especially for the previous person who was only at the heaven level. He could kill him with almost a look. Puff. The senior executive spat out a mouthful of monster green blood and then became exhausted. How could the strongest man in the entire base spurt blood with just one look? Jia Yan's move was like killing a chicken to scare the monkeys. No soldier in the entire welcoming team dared to speak. Looking at the huge and silent monster army, Jia Yan looked back and saw the few Earthling recruits who were also horrified. He seemed to be a different person, and his expression instantly became friendly again. Okay, take me to the command room of this base, and I'll contact the commander-in-chief of the border defense line. Okay, Master Jia Yan, please come this way. The Earthling recruits quickly agreed. The surrounding monsters could only stare blankly at this group of people, slowly walking past them. Many of them even bullied the Earthling recruits. Now that they saw them coming, they wanted to rush it at the beginning, so I don't dare to look at it. With such a terrifying being to help them, no one in this group of Earthling recruits can afford to offend them. Quickly, send a secret message to the higher UPS, saying that there are strong aliens in our base coming to cause trouble. The high-ranking creature in the Imperial barracks who was vomiting blood was speaking with some hatred to his subordinates on the side, and quietly used the lowest level of brainwave power to transmit the message. Good. The being almost didn't dare to make any big moves and nodded, and then a brainwave power was transmitted to a certain place. Of course Jia Yan saw everything they did, but he didn't care. People with overwhelming strength will not be too afraid of anything. And not long after, a place where even Jia Yan couldn't see was a higher level command post than the base here. What? That guy actually offended that Lord Jia Yan. Damn it, let me deal with him now. He will be dismissed first. Then I will go over and interrogate him personally to see where he offended Lord Jia Yan. This senior executive's expression turned gloomy. You must know that he understands Jia Yan better than other base senior leaders. The other party's strength is truly recognized by the Lion King of his empire face to face. The meaning of face to face is a bit vague when used here. To put it bluntly, it means that there was a fight or a test. Otherwise, how could the Lion King say that the other party was of the same level as him? He was angry now that the senior base official had offended Lord Jia Yan, which was already a serious crime, and yet he wanted to ask him for help. Was he trying to drag him into the water? You must know that he is a top existence. The creatures in this Orion's arm don't know what half-star level is, but they know that the two top-level existences like secret weapons of the Great Empire are the final trump card of the entire Great Empire, and these two killers are. How could a creature that everyone agrees with be so easy to deal with? Check it out for me. I have long disliked this guy. I must kill him this time. This senior executive actually went against the opponent's words and wanted to take action against the 3981 base senior executive who asked for help. Of course, Jia Yan doesn't know all this, and he won't care about such trivial matters. Master Jia Yan, this is the general headquarters of our base. There is a holographic influence command system inside. This system is so advanced that no one on Earth can use it. Even we can't understand it. In base 3981, several Earthling recruits led Jia Yan to the general headquarters in the base. The biological personnel working around them all looked at the coming top existence in shock. They had also seen the previous scene on the surveillance camera in the headquarters, so no biological personnel would stop Jia Yan and the others. The monsters around were all extremely tall. Jia Yan and several others were walking back and forth among the monsters. And approaching him, a huge monster that could be bumped into accidentally was like hitting a wall, and the whole thing was shaken away. So domineering. Several senior executives were following behind, almost all of them felt uncomfortable seeing what Jia Yan was doing. But the contact from above never came, and they didn't know how to deal with Jia Yan. Of course, Jia Yan doesn't think he is overbearing. Originally, in the interstellar world, there was no humanity or compassion. Different races, different living environments, and even different biological molecules made it impossible to explain the truth. Only force can make others respect you. Now that he has just received a little bit of strength from his true body, of course he will have no scruples. Even Jia Yan regretted that he did not get this power when he was on Earth before. Otherwise, the lion monster would have to pay something to leave. Sir, the communication place is just ahead. Huh. Several young Earthling recruits came to Shiyuan. They only came to the general headquarters once or twice, and when they finally brought Jia Yan into the liaison office, they were suddenly stunned. Emergency contact. A biological intelligence officer working in this liaison office screamed loudly. On the high platform of the liaison office he was responsible for, a red alarm screamed loudly. This is the pressure alarm of the barrier. There is a creature coming through the barrier. The liaison yelled, almost at the top of his lungs. And he quickly photographed the instant siren. At the same time as he photographed the siren, sirens blared loudly throughout the base. Thanks to the miserable Aquarius brothers for another 1,000 starting coins, and thanks to Lao Haifeng in Beijing. Follow the fate of the moon. Hurricane Yan. Rewards from several book friends for doing a good job. Thanks. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1018. Sir, there is an intruder on our side of the barrier. We have been here for several months and have never seen anything like this. The man who led Jia Yan here. The faces of several newcomers to the earth turned pale. You must know that the mysterious invaders from the outside world are almost all the extremely terrifying existences in the rumors. Every time they arrive, they cannot be driven out without destroying one or two bases. And this time it is so close. It is the 3918 base that must be destroyed. But while they were so nervous, Jia Yan beside him was extremely indifferent. Originally, for Jia Yan, he saw the most powerful creatures in the outside world. Now that he had to face a few, what did it matter? But the sparkle in his eyes was a bit sharp. Is this foreigner the so-called biochemical empire figure? In Jia Yan's view, the biochemical empire was a force that had previously been invaded by outside forces into the entire Orion arm. However, this cannot be explained. After all, the biochemical empire and the Asta empire have been big for so many years. On the gray-yellow star, Jia Yan kept these things in mind. For hundreds of years, the biochemical empire has been a powerful empire considered by all civilizations in the starry sky on Earth. However, this power is aimed at the Orion arm, or even just against the Asta empire. After hundreds of years of fighting, if the other party really if he could send a strong man from the outside, the Asta Empire would have perished long ago. No matter what, I'll see you next. I hope it's not something I can't solve. Jia Yan came to the Kawo defense line this time just to see what kind of creatures these so-called external intruders are. If the opponent really has an extremely terrifying strong man who can enter this Orion arm, then Jia Yan felt that it was better to forget about the Earth. Before the foundation of civilization was laid, he would just find a way to move the entire Earth to a place thousands of light years away. For example, the Northern Star Territory is a good choice. This monster is so fast, faster than our battle. He is coming towards our base. The intelligence officer and soldier who reported the news were looking at the light spots on the screen with some horror, almost in horror. Let's attack, quickly, arrange the team to intercept him. Don't worry, as long as we can hold him back now, our powerful adults will come over later. Although the leader of the base was severely slapped by Jia Yan before, he still had basic abilities. Now that he heard about such an emergency situation, he quickly gave the order. At the same time, he glanced at Jia Yan, as if he wanted to say something, but after seeing Jia Yan's eyes, he swallowed the words back. Ah! Jia Yan smiled. Master Jia Yan, what should we do? It is said that the monsters outside are very scary. Sometimes the powerful ones they come in can kill the venerable beings here. Last month, it seemed that a venerable being was killed. Kill you. Among the Earth soldiers on one side, the tall young man didn't seem to have much trust in Jia Yan's strength, so he looked at Jia Yan with some uncertainty. According to his idea, Jia Yan should just leave at this time, and of course he would take them with him. Although he had lived in this base for several months, he had no feelings, so it would not be sad to just abandon them all. Several Earth recruits looked at Jia Yan like this. Of course, they still have a hope in their hearts, but they won't say it out loud. Unexpectedly, Jia Yan seemed to understand their thoughts. At this moment, Jia Yan continued to smile, and then shook his head. You guys, don't you still want me to go over and deal with this offender? Just say whatever you think in your heart, otherwise, you can't be a strong man. Jia Yan understands the thoughts of this group of boys, which is that they also want to show these soldiers who are laughing at the Earth how powerful the guardian god of the Earth, Lord Jia Yan, is. Okay, you all just wait and see the show. I'll come as soon as I go. Jia Yan looked around at the eyes that were looking at him, and then a smile appeared on the human face. With one step, he stepped directly into the subspace in full view of everyone. Well, the creatures watching this scene, as well as the new recruits from Earth, were all shocked at this time. You have to know the subspace talents and tactics. In the genius battlefield, not every strong person with space talents can use them. What's more, in this Orion arm, no one even knows about the subspace. How did Lord Jia Yan disappear? One by one, the Earth recruits looked at the place where Jia Yan left, and then looked at it in astonishment. It's so scary. Lord Jia Yan is really unfathomable. A base adjutant showed a look of horror next to the senior executive who was slapped in the face by Jia Yan. Humph, this kind of method is completely normal for a strong man. He is just showing off. Maybe he will just run away now. The senior executive who was slapped in the face by Jia Yan changed slightly at this time, but he still had the stern expression on his face and spoke gloomily. Of course, after being teased by Jia Yan like that, he naturally wouldn't have much favorable impressions of Jia Yan. Of course, he tried his best to slander Jia Yan. As for the attitude of this so-called senior executive, Jia Yan didn't care at all. After all, which god would care about a mortal? Jia Yan travels through subspace. I came out in this battle not without reason. I saw the surveillance before. Although the opponent's speed was fast, in fact, it was at most the strength of a respected person from the outside world, and he was not a talented person. The Venerable. Of course he is much stronger than the Venerable in the Orion arm, but my current clone definitely has a chance of winning. Jia Yan decided to fight after seeing the opponent's strength. At the edge of Orion's arm, there is a terrifying scene of divine power. This scenery is so terrifying. The entire Orion arm, covering hundreds of light years, is actually enveloped by this majestic scene. It was like a barrier, completely cutting off the Orion arm from the surrounding starry sky. This kind of scenery is not to mention ordinary creatures who have never seen the scenery. Even Jia Yan had the same expression as if he had seen a ghost when he learned about this fact from the envoy of the great empire. This kind of thing cannot appear casually. The first thing Jia Yan thought of was the terrifying evolutionary beast senior in Orion hundreds of thousands of years ago. At that time, he and the most top-notch beast in the entire galaxy the strong fight. According to the information from the Genius battlefield, the battle started from the Orion arm, and then went all the way to the Genius battlefield. As a result, that battle created the unique scenery of the Genius battlefield, and Jia Yan did not find it strange at all that the same scene existed in the Orion arm. Of course, it is still incomprehensible to Jia Yan now that a simple cosmic powerhouse can create such a scene. When Jia Yan charged away, at the edge of the barrier, a shadow traveling at the speed of light was flying very fast. There were battleships in front of him resisting his progress, but the shadow just stabbed through these battleships quickly, and they exploded away one after another. Too weak. The place I came in this time was so weak. There wasn't even a decent strong man. Last time, there were 3 sages from the Orion arm who joined forces to attack me. I also want to come in and kill one of them this time. There are 2 of them, but I haven't met one of them for so long. Inside the shadow, there was actually a monster that looked like a bird. At this moment, the monster was flying very fast. When it saw battleships and creatures, it flew over and killed them. It's so satisfying. I've never gone on such a killing spree in the outside world. You have to know my strength. In the outside world, I'm just a venerable, or even just an ordinary venerable. It's too late to lower my head and act like a cow every day. If you dare to go on such a killing spree, you are seeking death. But it's different here. This bird monster laughed happily and seemed to have found happiness after entering the Orion arm barrier. Of course, in Jia Yan's view, an existence of this level is almost the lowest level in the outside world, but when it comes to the inside of the Orion arm, it is an extremely powerful existence. There is a battleship over there, please die. With one blow, the bird monster bombed a defensive warship in front of him. Then he saw another warship targeting him hundreds of kilometers away, and he immediately rammed it hard against the warship in anger. With this collision, he actually traveled hundreds of kilometers quickly. With this skill, it seemed that the opponent also had a certain degree of space talent, but he did not reach the level of Jia Yan who could enter the subspace. Inside the battleship, seeing this monster suddenly impact, the crew members and monsters inside all roared in extreme fear. You must know that this terrifying existence is like a god to them. No warship can defend it from a collision. Run away. The other party is coming. No, we are not as fast as him. Just on the collision course between the battleship and the bird monster, the opponent came to the front of the battleship and almost collided at the moment. In front of the huge bird monster of more than 150 meters, a slowly opened space channel came to the front of the battleship. In this space, and stepped out of a human being with a happy and contented face. Huh? Within the arms of this little Orion, there is actually a being who can master the talent of space. When the bird monster saw the human coming to the front of his impact route through the subspace, his expression changed instantly. Then a cruel feeling emerged in his heart. No matter what your talent is, if you dare to stand in front of me, you will die. Just die with me on this battleship. The opponent's heart felt cold, and then the impact speed became faster. At the same time, Inside the base, the senior executive who was slapped hard by Jia Yan was still saying, Jia Yan from this Earth civilization must have escaped. After seeing the man stepping out in front of the screen, his mouth suddenly closed. But when he saw Jia Yan standing in front of the huge monster, his cynicism started again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1019. Haha, I don't know what method Master Jia Yan used to reach the battlefield so quickly, but look, he actually dared to stand in front of the intruder. Is that just based on his body? He simply overestimates his capabilities. Update: as soon as the next moment, he will definitely die on impact. The senior executive almost hated Jia Yan. He was a distinguished member of the empire. What kind of earth did he come from? How could he have the right to humiliate himself in a place like this? What he is still thinking in his mind is that the name of the other party must be a mistake made by the upper management of the empire. As long as he understands the true strength and status of the other party, he will be able to take revenge. But he never thought that the other party's name was real, and Jia Yan himself didn't care about this so-called name at all. Why does his strength need to be defined by other countries? Shut up. Just when the senior executive was slandering Jia Yan, the tall earthling recruit next to him got angry and roared like this. You dare to yell at me? The senior executive was thinking about punishing the recruit, but at this time, on the screen, Jia Yan and the approaching giant strong man were almost touching each other. He stopped talking immediately. He didn't want to miss seeing Jia Yan being killed. Right there in the starry sky. Jia Yan looked at the opponent's impact, but his expression didn't change at all. Haha, the baby in Orion's arms must have been so frightened that he didn't dare to move. That's right. A strong person like you who is closed off in this place will never understand the power of us outside strong people. When the other party saw that Jia Yan was not moving, he was very happy and later said arrogantly. Jia Yan still ignored him. When the two sides got closer and closer and were about to collide in the next moment, Jia Yan finally spoke. It's hard to believe that you are so powerful. Then Jia Yan stretched out one hand, and a brainwave power floated on the palm, directly facing the opponent's beak. Haha, you actually tried to block me with such a thin limb, so the monster with the Orion arm is really too naive. Die. When the other party saw that Jia Yan actually used his palm, he almost couldn't breathe with laughter. In his opinion, Jia Yan's strength was considered weak even for the venerable people in Orion's arms, let alone the venerable people outside. And with the other party's figure, if you wanted to spend more time with him, the best option would be to engage in guerrilla warfare, but you didn't expect that the other party would actually face him head-on? Just looking for death. The huge beak finally hit Jia Yan's outstretched palm. At this moment, the whole world seemed to pause for a moment. It was not just a pause in the mentality of the spectators, but the entire space really stood still for a moment. The surrounding light seems to no longer penetrate, and the brilliance of the stars is also obscured. After 0 and 1 second, the time here becomes normal. But such a thing as Jia Yan's clone's tiny body being knocked away didn't happen. In that base, the senior officials who were watching the battle and the soldiers in the square were all stunned when they looked at the starry sky like a spark exploding and the endless energy particles splashing. Less than a second later, someone screamed. Look, Nana, Nana, Lord Jia Yan is not dead. No, not only was he not dead, he blocked it. How is it possible that with his size, he could block the impact of that terrifying monster? What is the principle? Don't ask me, my physics teacher died young. At the command center in the base, the senior executive was about to congratulate Jia Yan on his defeat with a smile, but at this moment, his entire expression changed drastically. It turned out that in the surveillance video they saw, the seemingly thin man actually blocked the huge bird monster that was attacking with one hand. Where the man was, there seemed to be an invisible wall, making it impossible for the other party to move forward. How can this be? The top brass of the base were stunned, and then looked at the young people from Earth around them. This group of young people were also in shock, but one of them happened to turn his gaze and their eyes met instantly. Then this senior executive, who was originally aloof and looked down upon by the recruits, was actually heard in front of the recruit's face and said a faint ha with a nasal tone. How dare the other party laugh at me? How dare a new recruit laugh at himself? You, bastard, the senior executive was about to teach this Earth recruit a lesson, but the adjutant beside him suddenly took out a pair of instruments specially designed to deal with strong men. A light similar to an electric shock lit up, and the senior executive suddenly fall to the ground. I'm sorry, Commander, I just received a signal and I want to arrest you temporarily, the adjutant said lightly, and then several high-ranking sky-level soldiers on one side stepped forward and arrested the senior officer. Lifted away directly. This scene made several Earth soldiers look dumbfounded. Of course, the situation here is very interesting, but the battle in space is far more interesting than what happens here. A strong man actually blocked a monster of more than 100 meters in size with his palm. The strong man in this category is of course Jia Yan. At this time, he saw that the power of his brain waves was resisting this strong man, and at the same time he let out a sigh of relief in his heart. His impact was indeed not blocked. Fortunately, I used the power of environmental control. Otherwise, it would have been really bad if the opponent hit me and flew away. How could it be? The environment controls the power, and you are not the strong man in Orion's arms at all. The bird warrior who rushed towards him saw the sense of power in Jia Yan's arms and a faint force suppressing his body. He immediately understood that Jia Yan was using the environmental control power that could only be obtained from the outside world. As an ordinary venerable, he has not even been born with the power to control the environment. So at this moment, Jia Yan can actually use the power to control the environment. It is even vague that this power is extremely mature. It can be seen that the user definitely does not have this power. Oh my God! He was shocked at the moment, and then felt a sense of uneasiness in his heart. You must know that the power to control the environment is the watershed between the venerables. He does not even have the power to control the environment. Even if the opponent is the weakest brainwave power among the sages, he is extremely skilled in the power of environment control. At this time, he has no power at all. Any chance of winning? Escape. The other party was also a bachelor and had no sense of belief as a strong person. At this moment, he felt that Jia Yan was not a being that he could deal with. He quickly flapped his wings, his brainwaves became powerful, and he wanted to escape towards the rear. Go. But he found that there was no way he could escape. The opponent's power to control the environment was so powerful that it exceeded his imagination. Even within this power, there was a faint trace of the power to control the world and the earth that could only be seen by a legendary semi-star powerhouse. Haha, this friend, since you have come to visit me as a guest in Orion Arm, don't leave so quickly. Jia Yan's smiling voice rang in the ears of this strong man. Jia Yan's clone was just as tall as an eyeball of the opponent. But now it seems that the two sides have completely changed. Jia Yan is that huge and huge. Although the match exists, the other party is actually Meow's child. Asshole, you are not a creature of the Orion Arm at all. I advise you to let me go quickly. The power behind me is beyond your imagination. The bird lord roared. But with Jia Yan's whole brainwave power, and even a trace of energy just transmitted from his real body burst out, the opponent's body was actually so unable to move. The entire monster was bound by a faint force, unable to move at all. Of course I am the Orion Arm, but I won't explain anything to you. Well, I won't hurt you now. Now come back with me and see what you do before considering your life or death. Jia Yan said lightly, and then waved his arm. The monster that was so arrogant just now was like a lamb. It was completely bound by the power that controlled the world. It floated behind Jia Yan and turned around to fly towards Jia Yan. Come over to base 3981. This scene was not just behind Jia Yan. Watching Jia Yan subdue the terrifying monster's warship at close range in one move or two was shocking. The entire base, and even the nearby bases who had just made emergency connections, were watching this scene. The bosses were all stunned. On base 3981, the 5 Earthling recruits all opened their mouths and could not close their mouths for a long time. Originally, they were worried that Master Jia Yan would be injured and wanted him not to fight, because even if they believed that he could win, their opponent was a mysterious and powerful person from the outside world that all Orion Arm creatures were afraid of. Even if Master Jia Yan victory, it must be a tragic victory. After all, getting injured for the sake of defense is not a good thing, and it has little to do with the Earth for the time being. But they never thought that Lord Jia Yan could not only win, but also so easily. A mysterious monster struck at a super high speed, and it was an entity that was 100 meters away. This kind of impact, the adult actually completely resisted it with just one hand. This had already shocked them to the extreme, but the next scene made their jaws almost drop in shock. Lord Jia Yan just used one hand to block it, as if touching an object, and then caused the other party to be completely bound by an invisible force. Then, the terrifying creature that charged into Orion's arm was directly captured by Jia Yan's hung with just such a contact, and now it flew back to the base. Guo, he is indeed the patron saint of us people on Earth. Master Jia Yan's strength is beyond our imagination. That's right, my lord, you are so relaxed when dealing with extremely mysterious external creatures. You are so calm and gentle. You are so strong. These Earthlings who already had confidence in Jia Yan behaved like this, and the base soldiers and senior officials around them expressed their shock with various types of exaggerated expressions. A new volume with a new atmosphere, please subscribe to it. Thank you to Juyan Book Friends for your tip of RMB 600. Thank you to Book Friends of Reading My Cool and Sui Wenyanyu for your tips. Thank you. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1020. In short, no matter how shocked others were, it didn't take long for Jia Yan to look so indifferent, as if he had just gone for a walk. He flew to the 3981 base again with a huge bird monster behind him that looked like it was tied into seeds. Hello everyone, I want to bring this foreign strongman into your base now. Is it possible? Jia Yan asked softly in front of Shue's defense system outside the base. Do you dare not agree? They can even capture the terrifying outsiders. If base 3981 dares not to agree, this strongman can destroy the entire base with just a flip of his hands. Presumably, if you do something like this, given the strength of the other party, the great empire will be able to turn the big issue into a small one. Okay, Master Jia Yan, please come in. The former second-in-command, who temporarily served as the highest level of the 3981 base, immediately spoke with great respect to Jia Yan. Thank you. Jia Yan nodded lightly, then moved his arm, and the bundled monster was like a giant mountain of seeds, being pulled towards the star. So horrible. Jia Yan's strength completely exceeded everyone's expectations. Even the few Earth soldiers who had confidence in Jia Yan were dumbfounded when they saw that Jia Yan actually dragged the big meat mountain monster to this planet. Seeing that terrifying giant monster with your own eyes gives you an even stronger visual impact. It's not that the other party's figure is rare to see in this Orion's arms, but the huge energy fluctuations emanating from the other party's body make no one dare to approach. But such a terrifying existence was captured by the master of Earth civilization named Jia Yan with just one move. It's even like catching a child, it's downright terrifying. Fortunately, there is a big place on the star. After all, several heaven-level existences are tens of meters in size. It is still feasible to deal with a giant monster of more than 100 meters in this kind of living environment. Jia Yan took the bird monster, led by senior soldiers, to a building more than 100 meters high, and brought the other person inside. "You, please let me go." The bird monster didn't know why, but after flying on the star for a while, it actually seemed weak. Jia Yan was silent for a while, and then he felt that the other party's life force was slowly draining away. "Tell me, what kind of force are you from and why are you attacking the Orion arm?" Jia Yan did not answer the other party's words about leaving, but asked indifferently. I won't say it, anyway. In short, the power behind me is so terrifying that even you little Orion arm strongmen can't imagine it." The other party's words seemed to be getting smaller and smaller, and a faint weakness emerged from the bottom of his heart. After looking at his appearance, Jia Yan already had some vague guesses. "How about if you tell me, I will put you back at the barrier," Jia Yan said after a while. "Really? No, you won't do it? How could you let me go after you finally caught me?" The monster seemed to suddenly gain some energy, raising its head, and there was a hint of desire for survival in his eyes. "See? I finally caught you. Haha, have you forgotten how you were caught by me before? In fact, I also understand that with your strength, you are just a pawn. If you are willing to tell me, I will let you go." "What does this insignificant little pawn mean?" Jia Yan smiled slightly, and his smile was full of disdain for the other party. The bird monster was startled, and then nodded with a wry smile. Jia Yan was right. The strength between him and Jia Yan was like a chasm that could not be crossed. Jia Yan can catch him, and he can catch most of the external creatures that are now in Orion's arms, so Jia Yan said he would let him go, which is really possible. "Okay, let me tell you, you are a strong person. I can feel that your strength is not what it is now, so I believe you. A strong person will not lie casually." The other party nodded. Next, Jia Yan heard the name of the opponent's force from the monster's mouth, as well as the general arrangement of the troops for this attack. As for the other party's purpose, this low-level little monster doesn't understand. "I see." After hearing everything, Jia Yan let out a long sigh of relief, his expression slightly condensed. In fact, the incoming force is so powerful that if Jia Yan had a way, he would now take the entire Earth civilization and escape. However, Jia Yan had already expected it. He had previously provoked the so-called Great Being, that is, the galaxy level, on the gray-yellow star. That being seemed to be vaguely related to the invading biochemical empire. But now, he understood what the forces behind the biochemical empire were, and he took a deep breath. Although the other party's force does not have a great being, it is still extremely powerful, at least Jia Yan can't even imagine it now. The name of this incoming force is the biochemical star territory. There are 30 or 40 star-level powerhouses alone. Although they are not as good as the genius battlefield, they are definitely at the level of the overlord of one party, and they are comparable to the Great One. The existing forces, the forces known as the Zerg Empire, have excellent relations. Jia Yan also heard the other party say that the Zerg are extremely powerful and are basically more terrifying than other strong people at the same level. Even the great existence of the Zerg Queen is the great female voice who once possessed Jia Yan. The existence is also vaguely more powerful than the average galaxy level. Therefore, even the two major galactic level forces behind Genius Battlefield and Genius Battlefield are unwilling to provoke the Zerg Empire. Even though they are close neighbors to each other, they are not in conflict with each other at all and even have little contact with each other. Of course, the Zerg Empire is actually very famous. Jia Yan has never heard of it before in Genius Battlefield. It is simply because he is ignorant, or even because his level is too low and he does not need to know the reasons for such high-end affairs. The biochemical star territory and the Zerg Empire are really two troublesome and terrifying forces. Jia Yan smiled bitterly. Sir, please let me go. You don't know that in this Orion arm, the strong men we come in can't withstand the cosmic rays inside, and they can't stay in for long. Now I am weak. Seeing Jia Yan deep in thought, the other party finally couldn't help but beg. Oh. So this is the reason why you keep begging for mercy. Jia Yan came back from his thoughts. The other party's information was very useful to Jia Yan, but it could only go so far. After all, a small venerable level was of no importance to a star-level superpower. It is impossible to know too much inside information. Now, it depends on Jia Yan's mood whether he should let him go or not. Sir, I promise I won't come to your Orion arm again. Please let me go, sir. The other party weakened faster than Jia Yan imagined, and he was now on the verge of death. Jia Yan thought for a while. No wonder he felt the cosmic sense of the outer star field when he first came out of the outside world, which was different from the Orion arm. Now, he finally confirmed that this feeling was not his illusion. Oh, okay, I'll let you go. Now let's see if you can return to the outside world. Jia Yan looked at the opponent's weakness, and then without much hesitation, he directly untied the opponent. Sir, you won't take me with you, the other party was startled and then asked. Why should I take you? You can fly by yourself. You are not very fast. Jia Yan smiled. The other party was stunned for a while, but his desire to survive made him not think too much. He quickly flapped his wings and flew high into the sky of the base. He was swaying, and even his flight was unsteady. Lord Jia Yan, are you going to let him go just like that? Behind Jia Yan, the former second-in-command of Base 3981, who had just received the news, looked at Jia Yan in disbelief. You must know that in the previous battle, dozens of warships were damaged in his 3981 base. If he just let the saboteur go, he would not be able to explain it to his superiors. Of course, he didn't dare to doubt Jia Yan. Haha, I promised to let him go from the beginning, and I won't break my promise, Jia Yan responded calmly. But he changed the topic and continued, but I didn't say that you let him go. Didn't he enjoy beating you before? Now it's your turn. After Jia Yan said all this, he walked towards a few Earth soldiers indifferently. He wanted to get a better understanding of the situation of these Earth soldiers in this defense line. The eyes of the second-in-command at the base suddenly lit up after hearing Jia Yan's words. Prepare the whole army to attack. We must avenge our dead brothers, he suddenly roared boldly, which made the colleagues around him have a new understanding of this newly appointed second-in-command. Everyone is willing to beat up a drowned dog. As a result, more than one team has signed up. Even several high-level officials in the recruit camp have volunteered. It seems that every one of them is dedicated to serving the country. Not long after, the battle started again in the starry sky. The monster's faint voice scolding Jia Yan also came from afar, but Jia Yan just pretended not to hear it. Okay, now tell me, who are the people on Earth in this defense line? I will take you there to pick them up first. Even if you still want to stay in this defense line, I will not make any arrangements. You are just young recruits in a base like this. Jia Yan came to several Earthling recruits and said calmly. Sir, let me tell you. There are a total of 15 people on our trip, in groups of 5, for a total of 3 groups. They were sent to several bases. I don't know where they are. The tall recruit boy seemed to be the boldest. Others were too frightened to talk to Jia Yan casually. Although he was also afraid, he still had the courage to speak out. 15 people, you guys should find a warship and set off now. I'll ask the top brass of this defense line, and then we'll go pick them up together. I hope there's no problem with their safety. Jia Yan nodded. Find any boat, but we can't drive it. The tall boy seemed to have no strength and was stupid. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1021. You're stupid. Master Jia Yan means that someone else opened it for us. Hearing the tall boy's words, some of the recruits on the other side rolled their eyes. The tall boy was startled, then scratched his head and said nothing. Not long after, a battleship took off from this base planet. This is the most luxurious and fastest warship in the 3981 base. Not long after the battleship took off, the bird outside monster not far away from the starry sky swallowed its last breath bitterly. Jia Yan did not kill him, but the soldiers of 3981 wanted revenge, but Jia Yan had no reason to stop him. The bird monster couldn't escape because he didn't have the ability. But Jia Yan didn't take this matter into his mind at all. Now looking at the excitement of several Earth soldiers in the extremely luxurious cabin of the battleship, it was like looking at juniors and smiling slightly. Sir, this battleship is so advanced. We don't even have one on Earth. Are you kidding? There is no warship in the base that our Earth warships can compete with. If you dare to compete with this one, you are putting gold on your face. The few recruits from Earth were like Lulalau entering the Grand View Garden, sighing at everything around them. Since you like it so much, I will immediately talk to the senior management of Kaowo Defense Line and ask for a fleet like this to be given to Earth. You can just take it back together when you go back. Jia Yan listened to the words of the Earth recruits and said to them. Sir, would you want a warship like this for our planet? A young man was stunned for a moment, and then asked in disbelief. Wrong, I meant a fleet built with such warships. Jia Yan corrected him. Ship, fleet. The young man felt that he couldn't turn his head. You must know that as a base soldier, he understood the power of this kind of battleship, and he also understood the cost of this kind of battleship. Even if there is only one ship in a base, the price is sky high. Even if the entire civilization of the Earth is sold, it will not be able to exchange for a fleet like this. Master Jia Yan actually said in one breath that he wants a fleet from the top brass of the defense line. Quantity. And judging from his tone, it was as simple as asking for a ballpoint pen. He felt like he was talking to the most powerful person on Earth, and the gap was as big as heaven and earth. Hello, Mr. Jia Yan. While he was still thinking about life, Jia Yan had contacted a senior executive of Kaowo Defense Line without any taboo. The other party is a venerable level existence of the Great Empire. He seems to know much more about Jia Yan than the general high-level officials of the Great Empire, so now that he is connected to Jia Yan's video screen, he shows a flattering expression. Hello, I have some information to share with you, and I also want to see your information, as well as your empire's troop arrangements, etc. Jia Yan said directly to him without much wasting words. Okay, your two great empire civilizations are the mainstay of the Orion arm, and it is appropriate to exchange information. The senior executive who looked like Warcraft nodded to Jia Yan, not having any objections because of Jia Yan's cold attitude. Happy. He had received the news from above before, that is, Jia Yan, the strongest person in the Earth civilization, is not a being that the Great Empire wants to deal with. On the contrary, the two sides have a basis for cooperation, so they must be as friendly as possible. What's more, Jia Yan took action in person just now. As soon as he took action, everyone understood that this person's strength was stronger or weaker than the rumors. The few Earthling recruits who were listening to all this were suddenly confused. This general at the top of the defense line actually said that our Earth is the same mainstay as the Great Empire? Me. If someone else said that about the Earth, this soldier would definitely spit it out. Comparing the Earth to the Great Empire is simply wishful thinking. But the person who said these words now was the highest level person in the entire Kaowa defense line who they could only see on video or in important speeches. They did not dare to doubt the words spoken by the other party. But this is too exaggerated, putting the Earth on the same level as the great empire. A small civilization on Earth that has just emerged from the starry sky, even if a large number of external starry sky monsters come to help build and improve the level of civilization, compared with an existence like a large empire, it is like ants and elephants, there is no comparison at all. It must be Master Jiayan, and only Master Jiayan, the greatest of our planet, can make the other party put our Earth on the same level as the great empire. How powerful Master Jiayan must be. When several soldiers saw this scene, their whole bodies straightened up. Now that they are in this defense line, they can have the same status as the people of the great empire. After all, the other side has admitted that the status of the Earth and the great empire are similar. Even if the words are polite, it is absolutely certain that with Lord Jiayan, the people of the Earth will stand tall from now on. Okay, I have received all your information, and I will also show you the information I just received. Jiayan casually handed over the information he had just learned from the bird monster. Sir Jiayan, I wonder if you will come to the commander-in-chief of the defense line. I have been fascinated by you for a long time. If I am lucky, I would like to listen to your teachings in person. Seeing that the matter was almost over, the other party begged Jiayan to meet him. I originally wanted to come over to meet you, but what you did was very wrong. Without my knowledge, you actually asked 15 precious geniuses from us on Earth to come and join the army. Now I want to take them back and wait until let's meet again next time we come over. Jiayan shook his head. After hearing Jiayan's words, the other party took it as a meal. As a general in charge of more than 100 million armies of various civilizations, it is really impossible for him to personally inquire about the matter of only 15 new recruits from Earth. The news about Jiayan had just arrived not long ago, and he did not have time to know. There are also several Earthlings in this line of defense. What? Sir, I really don't know about this. The people below have gone too far and dare to do such things to our fellow Earthlings. I will investigate thoroughly immediately. Also, on behalf of my great empire's civilization, I would like to express my gratitude to my lord. You express your sincere apologies. You don't need to apologize to me, but these children have seen the world here. Let's do it this way. They like battleships, so you can build a fleet of battleships like the ones we have at our feet and bring them back to Earth to play with. Is there no problem? Jiayan asked with a relaxed expression. No problem. Since the kids on Earth like it, how about one fleet? I will personally send you 2 of these fleets, as well as several other almost brand new fleets that are almost rusting in our reserves. Yes, I also decide to use it as a toy for our Earthling children. I hope they don't mind that it is second-hand, haha. The general was actually extremely heroic. After laughing at Jiayan, he said a series of words that made the Earth soldiers behind him widen their eyes. Thank you then. Okay, I'm going to pick up my Earth soldiers. Let's talk after we're done. Jiayan nodded lightly, as if the other party's generous gift could not impress him at all. After turning off the communication, Jiayan looked back and saw that the 5 Earth soldiers were all stunned, unable to speak. You guys, don't act like this just because of a few battleships. You will embarrass all the people on Earth. Jiayan shouted coldly. The field of vision of this Earthling is still too narrow. You must know that in Jiayan's view, although this kind of battleship cannot be said to be bad, it is still more than a little bit worse than some powerful battleships in the genius battlefield. A few battleships have caused the people of the Earth to behave like this. In the future, won't everyone be shocked to the point of dementia by what Jiayan shows? Alas, Jiayan feels that he has to help the people on Earth improve their national self-confidence. The soldiers came to their senses in panic after hearing Jiayan's words. But no matter how they came back to their senses, they were still in a dazed state. You must know that there are several active fleets of the great empire. If nothing else, Let's just talk about the ship they are stepping on. Even though the people on Earth have made a lot of progress now, only 2 such warships are needed at most to sweep across the Earth's civilization. And the composition of a fleet of the Great Empire, the number is generally 100. 2 such powerful warships form a fleet. Not to mention logistics and war potential, etc., just in terms of military strength, the Earth's military strength can instantly reach the top 20 in the entire Orion Arm civilization. What's more, there are also several second-hand fleets that the other party mentioned. Since the other party dares to say that, what they can offer is definitely not as simple as a second-hand fleet. Lord Jiayan, you are truly a blessing to me as a human being on Earth. The tall soldier was really moved to tears at this time. He was originally a soldier assigned to this defense line by the people on Earth. After seeing the gap clearly, he became desperate, because as people on Earth, no one is more powerful than them. Clearly, the gap between Earthlings and these alien civilizations is clear. That feeling was hopeless, because he couldn't see that in thousands of years, it would be possible for people on Earth to catch up. But he missed one thing, that is the patron saint of the Earth, Lord Jiayan. Although the other people didn't cry, their eyes were still red. I feel lucky to have Master Jiayan in my civilization, and I feel relieved to have the protection of this man in my civilization. The adults seem to be more active on Earth and the Orion Arm recently. This is the moment when people on Earth can really take off. Don't worry about the battleships. As long as I'm here, these battleships are useless. Our goal now is to go find your friends, but don't forget who they are. Jiayan looked helplessly at these little guys. Said with a wry smile. Okay, thank you Master Jiayan. Several Earth Genius recruits wiped the corners of their eyes and nodded. The battleship they were traveling on was indeed extremely fast. Even before they even picked up the speed, another base millions of kilometers away could already be reached in less than half a day. The base here has already been prepared. Welcome Master Jiayan. Thanks to the miserable Aquarius brother for another 1000 reward, thank you. At the same time, I would like to thank book friend number 7 Spy for the reward of 500 starting coins, and thank book friend Look 000 for the reward. Thank you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1022. Large groups of soldiers of various races were waiting respectfully on the base planet. Several Earthling recruits here have started video shooting. This kind of worship by all races is an invisible confidence boost for the current Earthlings. Master Jiayan, we welcome you at base 3812. A nearly 100-meter large monster flew up and came to the outside of the battleship to speak respectfully to Jiayan and others. Jiayan, on the other hand, led several Earthling recruits. He did not show off his strength, but took a subship to the base. In this base, the welcome is the same, even the scene is much bigger. However, Jiayan didn't feel too excited about a similar situation. He behaved like a top powerhouse here, but the Earthling recruits felt extremely uplifted by being treated politely. There were also 5 Earthling recruits here. When they saw Jiayan, they were all shocked. Like the previous recruits, they originally thought that the people on Earth were frogs in the well, and even Lord Jiayan, whom they admired, might just be an ordinary venerable in the arms of Orion. Even an ordinary venerable is powerful enough. But it is impossible to bring them any unique treatment. After all, with the mobilization of the Great Empire, hundreds of venerables have been gathered together, and there will even be more and more in the future. What I didn't expect was that Master Jiayan actually came to this defense line in person, and among these billions of alien creatures, he was still the most terrifying and respected strong man. How can we not shock the recruits who think they have seen the world? Jiayan didn't care about their shock, he was just doing the best he could. Okay, I'll send you back to Earth first. It's too dangerous here. You guys are geniuses among the people on Earth, and you are destined to be a mainstay in the future. You can't just die here. When 15 recruits gathered and all said there was no one else, Jia Yan called them together. When they heard that they could go home, several young people who had not lived a good life in the defense line for several months felt like it was a holiday, and they were all extremely happy. Master Jia Yan, let's leave. How about you? The tall young man, perhaps because he was very courageous, or because he thought he was familiar with Jia Yan, actually dared to talk to Jia Yan on his own initiative. I will send you little guys back, and I will come back. If you don't help with the problems here, one day in the future it will affect us people on Earth. Jia Yan sighed longly. A dozen recruits and children looked at Jia Yan and sighed, and then their expressions changed slightly. They all heard the seriousness in Jia Yan's tone. You must know that this is not only the Earth, but also the most powerful Lord Jia Yan in the defense line of billions of races. He actually feels worried about this defense line, or the monsters in the outer star field behind the defense line. So what exactly is the enemy? None of the recruits asked, because they knew that their status was too poor. If they asked whether Jia Yan was willing to disclose it, how could they help? Lord Jia Yan, I offended you a lot last time. The information you got is very useful. On behalf of the great empire, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to you. In an extremely fast gravitational wave battleship, Jia Yan was talking to the Sphinx monster. Now that the other party saw Jia Yan, his expression was even different. You must know that when they met on Earth, he had the idea that even though Jia Yan couldn't defeat him, he was still close to him in strength. Later, in order to give Jia Yan some face, he gave Jia Yan the title of top being. But what he didn't expect was that when Jia Yan came to Cao Wo's defense line, he could see that he seemed to have underestimated the patron saint of the Earth. If there had been a fight on Earth that day, he was not sure whether he would be able to escape unscathed. So now that he contacted Jia Yan again, his demeanor suddenly valued Jia Yan even more, and even valued the Earth civilization higher, which was vaguely on a par with the civilization of his great empire. After all, there is a strong man like Jia Yan. No matter how low the technological capabilities and weak the Earthlings are, relying on Jia Yan's strength and influence, no empire around them would dare to treat the Earthlings badly, not even the big empires. Jia Yan will not fail to show his face, so of course the status of the people on Earth is also high. That's nothing, Your Excellency Lion King, haven't we already agreed to be allies? But before, the leader of your defense line seemed to have said that he would give me some young people from Earth warships to play with. I don't know what you mean. Yes. Jia Yan smiled and asked directly. Of course, I just don't know if they have enough warships to play with. If not, we will have double the number as gifts. The other party also smiled when he heard what Jia Yan said. As long as Jia Yan asks for something, then their empire's relationship with the Earth civilization will be good, at least for the time being. What's more, he doesn't worry about what will happen if he gives these things to the people on Earth. After all, the overall civilization level of the people on Earth is very different from that of the great empires. Even if the great empires are now starting to spare no room in helping the people of Earth to build new civilizations and technologies, if they want to become a great interstellar civilization, there are also population, technology, industry, and so on. Bottleneck. In other words, even if the Earth civilization goes smoothly, it will take at least several thousand years to catch up with the civilization of a powerful empire, and it will take who knows how long it will take to catch up with the great empire. No one knows what the situation will be like by then. Therefore, he is not afraid of giving things away. As long as Jia Yan is happy and can hold on to the seemingly unfathomable strong man, then the great empire will have a reliable ally when it faces the powerful external enemy it is about to face. Of course Jia Yan understands the other party's thoughts, but his original intention is to deal with powerful enemies from the outside. Otherwise, the Earth and his family may also face the threat of the biochemical star field. That's all the information I got from the powerful outsiders. I don't know much about the biochemical star field. I wonder if your empire has relevant information, Jia Yan asked the other party. I'm sorry, our Orion arm has been isolated from the outside world for more than a day or two. Even before the biochemical empire was exposed, we thought there was no life outside the Orion arm, so I can't answer your question. The Sphinx smiled bitterly and shook his head. Jia Yan was not too disappointed. He had already seen the closure of the Orion arm. The barrier not only isolates the strong men from the outside world, but also the creatures of the Orion arm cannot enter or exit through ordinary means. Even if they go out occasionally, it is impossible to come back. This is the reason why the Orion arm isolates the outer star field. After cutting off communication with the Sphinx, Jia Yan pondered about the battle with the Orion arm. I had news before that I didn't tell them. That's when I asked. The monster said that the biochemical star field it invaded was a large star field with a radius of several thousand light years. There were many forces in it, and those who came to invade us, it's just one of the forces. Jia Yan was deep in thought. From the monsters captured there, I learned that the biochemical star territory was not like the biochemical empire that had broken into the Orion arm before. In fact, it was more like a loose alliance, but it was extremely powerful. The people who invaded the Orion arm this time were only a very small part of the alliance. But I can't underestimate this small force. He still has a star-level existence, but the other party may not come to the Orion arm to fight in person. But everything is possible. What's even more frightening is that the biochemical star territory is loose and loose. Not loose but not wrong either. The captured monster once said that during the invasion war against another large star empire, the entire biochemical star field was condensed into one mass, which in turn transformed the territory of that great star empire. Swallowing most of it, this is their war potential. Jia Yan recalled a lot of information told by the monster, and then shook his head. He was sighing to himself about the strength of the enemy, but something suddenly happened with his real body. Master Jia Yan, I have already studied the kind of ejection device you mentioned. Sure enough, it can be done in this genius battlefield, but some raw materials are really hard to find. I think it is impossible in my own personal capacity. Collect them all. Jia Yan's real body. When he is in the environment of traveling in the universe and stars, he can receive signals from the outside world. The person communicating was naturally Nazaba. Can you actually do it? Regarding the raw materials, if you have time, go to my secret stronghold in a dark area. I think there will be some ways to help you there. Now I will input your information, and then you just get there. After hearing what the other party said, Jia Yan looked slightly happy. Jia Yan was a little worried about the Orion arm war, so he was overjoyed when he heard that the ejection device that Zibala casually mentioned was actually possible. If this ejection device is as Zibala said, it can be better than the ejection device of the Pacific Kingdom, then I may be in a situation where the war is irreversible. Return to the Orion arm with your true form. Thinking of this, Jia Yan's giant mosquito body had a faint flash of light. 11BA, thank you very much. You and the Lakiao forces behind you have gained my friendship. If something happens in the future, I will never forget you. Jia Yan thanked Zibala from the bottom of his heart for his great efforts. Haha, what did Lord Jia Yan say? It's my honor to be able to create a legend with you. Zibala laughed loudly, and Jia Yan also smiled slightly. After turning off the communication, Jia Yan observed Fan Genshin's condition. The strength is still improving steadily, and my feeling for the armor has improved even more. Where did Zibala get the material last time, which greatly improved the combat effectiveness of this armor? I don't even know now. How strong can I be when I put on the battle armor? The only thing that can be understood is that my current strength cannot even fully exert the full combat effectiveness of this armor. I believe that my combat effectiveness will increase again over time. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1023. After closing the communication, Jia Yan's real body thought about it in the visible universe for a long time, and then his eyes flickered with confidence. He continued to fly towards the land of Edessa. The two sides are getting closer and closer, and it won't be long before they meet each other. Then, his other big killer weapon, which is now the most terrifying weapon Jia Yan can get, the artificial black hole, can be produced. That's right. When I think of man-made black holes, I think of another thing I forgot suddenly. Jia Yan's eyes lit up. He quickly escaped into the subspace with his true body, letting the armor break through the many twisted spaces to move forward, and then leaned more of his spirit on the clone. The more he switches, the stronger his proficiency becomes. Perhaps before long, Jia Yan feels that he will be able to control two bodies at the same time without much impact on his control ability. Arriving at the place of the clone, Jia Yan retrieved some information he wanted, and then a real smile appeared on his human clone's cheek. Yes, it seems that the combat effectiveness of my clone will be greatly improved. Jia Yan smiled. But now is not the time. Let's wait until these children and the battleship are sent back to Earth. There is no life all the way, both the real body and the clone are busy moving forward. The clone was riding a super-fast flying ship, riding on gravitational waves, and its speed was even much faster than the real body's current slow-moving battle armor. Not long after, they returned to the solar system. I don't know why, but the Earth has already heard the news. Far away from the edge of the solar system, the Earth Alliance warships that have just mastered the ability to fly here have already sent a large wave of warships to greet them. They used slow-looking battleships to form a formation. Although they were much smaller and shabbier than the battleships on the other side of the defense line, they could still see several of them traveling hundreds of light years away. The long-awaited tourists all had tears in their eyes. Of course Jia Yan is not among them. After many experiences, Jia Yan doesn't have much feeling when faced with this kind of scene. Sir, do you think this battleship was really given to us? When Feng Huo returns to Earth, another grand welcome is inevitable. When a senior Earthling heard that Jia Yan actually handed over the super-fast battleship to the Earthlings for use, his whole body was shaking like a sieve, and he was extremely excited. The people on Earth before had an extraordinary desire for the universe. But after they went out and met their neighbors, they realized their backwardness. They even discovered that if their own civilization had not had Mr. Jia Yan, it might have been a long time ago. Was destroyed. But this does not diminish the desire of the people on Earth for outside civilization. If they can't build one, they will buy it. This was their original plan, but after they figured out the price of the alien forces' fast aircraft, they were all shocked. One Earth might not even be able to replace a few advanced fast ships. But after Jia Yan returned from a trip to the outside world, he actually brought back a super-fast ship. It was not even a work of ordinary civilization, but a top-notch super-speed ship of the great empire. This excited the high-level officials on Earth. This super-fast ship alone fast ships, the ability of people on Earth to travel to the outside world has been greatly improved. Haha, not only that, there will be several waves of fleets sent by the great empire in the future. This is a symbol of our friendship with the great empire. By the way, when they come, remember to give them something and return it to them. For example, our Chinese race on Earth specialties such as steamed buns and dumplings. Well, several senior officials were speechless. One was that he was frightened that the great empire would send several more waves of warships. The other was what Jia Yan meant. They were sending extremely valuable warships, but the people on Earth actually sent back steamed buns and dumplings. Isn't this a bit unfair? But even if the two sides are not equal, they can only do this, otherwise no matter what the earth sends, the great empire will probably not like it. Jia Yan returned to the Jiao family again. At this time, the Jiao family seemed to have become extremely popular again. The previous Jiao family was originally the supreme family on earth, but after all, Jia Yan rarely appeared, and not many people came to the door, but it is different now. Jia Yan's clones are permanently stationed, and they are more shocking every time. This suddenly, not only the high-level people of the earth and some unique families came to visit to give gifts, but also the surrounding civilizations from the outside world came to curry favor. Mrs. Jiolin, this is our civilization's top beauty medicine. Don't worry, you earthlings can definitely use it, and the effect is good. When Jia Yan came to Jia's house, a woman was delivering some medicine to Jiolin and Satsuma. Jia Yan had heard her words a long time ago, and now he flew to Jia's house. After a closer look, he found that the other person was not an earthling, but another race similar to earthlings. However, she had a delicate face and an extremely graceful figure. It has a pair of pointed long ears, which seems to be somewhat similar to the elves described in ancient times on earth. She used herself as a model to distribute bottles of exquisite medicine to Jiolin. The same goes for Xiaolin. As she gets older, she starts to pay attention to maintenance. She never paid attention to this when she was a child. But why does Satsuma-chan look a little like a little woman? Could it be that after taking on the appearance of a human for a long time, her psychology has also changed? Yet. Jia Yan smiled and opened the door. "Brother, are you back?" Jiolin, who was in the house, looked happy when she saw the person who opened the door. The Satsuma niche behind her also moved slightly, showing a little joy. The body of the beautiful woman with her back to Jia Yan suddenly trembled. In this Jiao family, there is only one person who can be called the elder brother by Jiolin, and that is Lord Jia Yan, who can be called a terrifying and powerful person in the entire earth, no, now in the entire Orion arm. The reason why she dared to speak so eloquently in front of Jiolin was because she was at the peak of heaven-level strength. Before he came to Jiolin's house, although he thought that Satsuma Temple could fight with him, with the same strength, he didn't have any people will be afraid. But Jia Yan was different. This legendary figure did not just surpass her in strength, but surpassed her by a lot now. Even though she was just turning her back to the person coming behind her, her whole person was faintly suppressed by a force. Even if Jia Yan didn't want to do anything to the other party, he still made the other party unable to move even if he didn't deliberately restrain the slight pressure. Master Jia Yan, please stop scaring Miss Pipa." Satsumako suddenly smiled when he saw Jia Yan's pressure coming on the elf-like woman. In fact, she can also feel the pressure, but Jia Yan's pressure is not aggressive. People who have ghosts in their hearts or are afraid of him will feel the pressure on their own. She is different. Instead, she feels friendly under this pressure. "Oh, I forgot." Jia Yan nodded, and then the pressure on the surface of his body completely disappeared. "Meet the adults." Unexpectedly, Miss Pipa, the moment Jia Yan restrained her pressure, she quickly turned around, knelt down on the ground, and knelt down to Jia Yan. Puff. Jiolin almost laughed out loud when she saw the woman who had dared to boast about beauty products just now. When she saw her brother, she was like a cat and mouse. "Okay, my brother is not that serious. Get up," she giggled. Jia Yan shook his head, came to the skincare products the other party mentioned, picked up a bottle and looked at it, and then his expression changed. "This stuff is very good for people, Xiaolin, just use it. Remember to give a few bottles to your parents, it should have a good effect on them." Jia Yan put down the bottle of skincare products and sat on the sofa. The soft sofa enveloped the others, which was quite comfortable. "Your name is Pipa, right?" Jia Yan asked calmly, looking at the woman kneeling in front of her who didn't dare to raise her head. Back to Master Jia Yan, Yes, the bitch is called Peepa. What the woman said shocked Jia Lin on the side. The woman who was so confident just now suddenly seemed like a completely different person. Well, you are from that Jinghe clan. Okay, I understand. The day after tomorrow, the resource star your clan just occupied by the Blood Wolf clan will be returned. This medicine is very good. I hope you can still be with my sister in the future. Thank you for being a friend. When Jia Yan said these words, the woman named Peepa trembled all over. A line of tears rolled down her cheek. Then she was also very discerning. When Jia Yan said these words, he quickly thanked him and then left. Brother, I didn't know Miss Peepa had such a purpose. When she left, Jia Lin sighed deeply. I understand, but don't think too much. This Peepa is really good. You have too few friends. You might as well make friends with him in the future. Jia Yan shook his head lightly. There are too many such things. Now everyone who is close to the Jia family has a certain purpose, but as long as it does not hurt the family, Jia Yan will forget about it. But if you walk too much at night, you will always encounter ghosts. There are too many such things. If an assassin suddenly comes one day, Jia Yan will have no place to cry. So Jia Yan solemnly ordered the Jia family guards. There are already some quite capable people in this group of guards. Although there are no earthly people who are at the top of the sky level, they can still be found in outside civilizations. Jia Yan deliberately arranged the two most powerful people at the top of the sky level from among the gray and yellow star powerhouses he brought to the earth into the Jia family. With the escort team and a trustworthy alien heaven level peak guard, as long as the intruder is not a venerable, the safety of the family is guaranteed. After arranging everything and taking time to have a meal with his parents, Jia Yan slowly flew into the sky again under the watchful eyes of Jiarong and Xiaoruruo, who were carrying school bags. The happy family gathering time is over. What Jia Yan has to do now is to improve the strength of his clone. I investigated before and found that those things are still in the Asta Empire. This thing is difficult to deal with. I guess both the Asta Empire and the Great Empire spent a lot of effort cleaning these materials that day, right? Haha, there are a few small man-made black holes left by the biochemical empire in the Asta Empire. Here I come. When he thought about the things that had been investigated before and still remained, a flash of light that was very similar to the real body flashed in the eyes of Jia Yan's clone. Thanks to book friend 02000 for the reward of 500 starting coins, and thanks to book friend 201702182127285286 for the reward.